Yo, yo, what's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormy B Man for this Monday, September 18th, 2023. This is number 57 as we move right along in the series of Nerds on Culture. And this evening, we are featuring another Marvel series of characters where we're going to talk a little bit about the X-Men. Yeah, the X-Men from the comic books. We might even talk a little bit about the films, but this is not so much about the films as it is about the creation that is the X-Men. And just knowing that the team first appeared in the X-Men #1 in September of 1963. The artist for the artwork at that time and co-creator was Jack Kirby, along with writer and editor Stan Lee, where they brought this now famous group of characters to mind when they brought them into existence. And this has been one of Marvel's most popular series of character tales. One reason being, and this you have to trace back to Stan Lee being such a creative and innovative mind. We have so much diversity in the world, and some people are downtrodden and looked down upon because of who they are and where they come from, almost in an alienated type circumstance. Well, these characters are brought to life under similar, but they have what we can identify as powers and abilities that set them apart from what we would consider normal people. And even in our everyday true life society, we have those out here who have image and ability and knowledge and other sorts of particularities that could set them apart, and they are judged upon that. So these stories that were told were quite readily identifiable. And that's why, one of the reasons why these characters are so well received. They are all sizes, backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, cross genders. There's so much there that is something that any of us could find someone within this mythos that we can relate to. So we're talking about the X-Men a little bit tonight, and some of you out here in the chat may have already expressed that you enjoy these characters and have enjoyed maybe following their stories through the graphics or even in the films. So don't hesitate to put your ideas about them in the chat as we go along. So allow me to, without any further ado, introduce my co-host to the show. We got Drew Titan in the building with me this evening. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, let's go. Let's go. You said two names that are iconic. Stan Lee and Jack the King
Jack
Kirby.
Man.
Who those two men need a show on their own.
Listen, there is so much creativity born from these two men.
Yes.
That what we take for granted, because without them, you could probably wipe out about 75% of these stories that have been told for years, for generations, right? Because and understand this, born out of that was ideas that we enjoy today as well. But it's like, this was, you're talking about the inception. 1963, Think about that, you guys.
What was going on then in 1963?
Listen, a lot. This
A
country
whole
lost its leader.
Yep.
Our community lost our leader.
That's right.
I mean, there was so much happening in the world, and the bitter pill of real life was being shoved down Americans' throats.
Mhm.
You know, and understand, for some of you who are a little youthful minded, you might not understand how I express certain things and think like, well, how what is he doing? I say that for a reason, because there's a such thing called censorship, and you have to be careful. You know, this is a platform where we enjoy presenting certain type of content and fare to you guys, and we want to be able to keep that going.
That's right.
But all you got to do is open a book and start reading.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
That's right.
yeah, your thoughts on, as we get ready to touch on the subject of these characters this evening. Oh, one second before you go, let me acknowledge the super chat from Eric Jordan. Appreciate your super chat, Eric. He says, the Juggernaut is my favorite villain. Okay. Appreciate that, Eric. Appreciate your super chat, brother. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah. The timing of the release of the X-Men, and I really mean that when we say I really mean we really need to. Jack the King Kirby and Stan Lee, they really do deserve their own Noids on Culture show, because those guys were very much in tune to the atmosphere in that current state of history in the 60s. The 60s, y'all. A lot of y'all are young. Some of us are a little older. You know, I wasn't born until 75, but I'm well-rounded. And that was a very important time in life. And what they did, I feel that they, through their own way, they were making a political statement right in the public's eye, and only a few understood what they were doing. A very, very few. And they did it without putting themselves in a position where they would get ridiculed, because these are two white men, by the way. They put themselves in a position where they wouldn't get too much ridicule from their own culture, but they were still getting their point across. And Stan Lee, I mean, look, a lot of people will call that cowardly, but look, man, look, I understand it's a different time. You got to make a living, and sometimes you're just not built to handle that ridicule. But as he got older, he spoke out about it. A lot of y'all don't know that Magneto and Charles Xavier was supposed to be spinoffs from Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. All right, they were two of the same, with two different ideologies on how to handle a situation. And when you read it, automatically you think, okay, well, Magneto's a villain. But when you really look at the things, when the stories got more in depth, when you from the 60s until now, because the stories have gotten a little more graphic, a lot more realistic. Really think about it. If we walked around here in real life, we'd be scared to death. Imagine living next door to a dude that can turn invisible and walk through walls. Would you feel safe? And he's just saying, yo, look, I promise not to do it. It's like, no, nigga, I don't know about that. What is the government doing about what there's a guy that could jump off a building and land and keep walking to work? That's what the fuck? How many of these guys are walking around, and what are they gonna do? What if they decide to get together and overthrow? They can do shit like that. So he referred to mutants not as Homo sapiens. Magneto referred to them as Homo superior. Now he was saying, I would love to coexist with the human race, but Charles, you know that's the case. These guys don't like us. So he went from saying, I want to be away from them, to F it. I'm going to get them before they get us by any means. Now, what does that sound like? You understand? Charles Xavier was like, no, peace. We could coexist and blah, 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 blah. So you had the X-Men and you had Malcolm X. In school, they taught me everything that needed to be known about Dr. Martin Luther King. I don't recall one lesson about Malcolm X. Why do you think that's so? You understand what I'm saying? And the knowledge was very limited. So I said all that to say this. The X-Men was symbolic of what the atmosphere was in the 60s and moving on. And it's actually, when you look at it like that, now that I've put that out there, you kind of look at it a little different now. So I know exactly what they were doing as I got older. Oh yeah. So I love the stories.
Yeah, and Eric Jordan is saying here that they show how discrimination was, but with people that have superpower.
Yeah.
But as Drew just alluded to, many of you do not know that Magneto and Charles Xavier were based on true to life people and people of color.
Yep.
And that whole dynamic right there, because of the philosophies, although the aspiration was to get to a certain place that both wanted to achieve, they had a different, like you said, ideology about how to go about it. And that's where we find ourselves in the real world. Some of us believe in fighting against the system by using our right and exercising right within what you would consider constitutional or national, according to pride and country and land and things of that nature. And then others feel like that you have to take control of your fate. And sometimes it might involve bloodshed, because some people will not conform. Some people have to be subjugated. And that's a really strong principle, especially when you live in a land where a lot of things were built on the principles of deception, destruction, genocide, things like that. So all of that parlays into the storytelling of the X-Men. It really does. And we kind of take it for granted because although it's a fictional comic graphic, don't let it leave your sensibility for one moment that it's based on true life.
That's right.
More than a Spider-Man, more than a Batman. The X-Men is something that's kind of based on true life, man. Because do you know that we have, just within the culture of, we're two black men on this panel right now talking and having this discussion on this show. But there are people who judge us on our complexion, the degree of where our skin shade happens to be. Some people may say they like myself because I might appear to be a certain shade over a different shade. Someone may appear to look at Drew and say the same about him. And it has nothing to do with who we are as men and what our level of intelligence is or whatever. It's discriminatory. And some of us within our community practice it harder than others that are not a part of our community. You know, we cover the sport of boxing and we see that in boxing hands down all the time. Right. And some of you don't even realize you're doing it because you've been weaned into this. Yep. Weaned from the time you sucked the nipple. And I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm trying to say from being a babe,
from birth,
being born under those circumstances and never knowing otherwise, because the agenda is not to teach you otherwise. The agenda is to keep you under the subjugation so that you will continue to perpetuate everything that has happened prior to your arrival.
Absolutely.
the X-Men.
That's right.
Huh? That's
It's
it.
deep. It's deeper. It's deeper than you think. It's deeper than you think. So yeah. So my salute to the chat, y'all. Salute to the chat. Of course, when I first saw the X-Men, oh wow, early 80s. Again, I was a kid. I just thought it was just another superhero. But I remember my brother saying, "No, they're mutants." I said, "What the hell is that?" It was like, they're not like Captain America or the Hulk, where they got powers by accident or some sort of government thing. These guys were born with these abilities, and it was different. It was different, and Magneto, as the years went on, you realize how much of a threat he was. Later on, they start ranking these villains by, what do they call it? Grades. And he's one of those mutants that he can really jack up an entire planet based off the amount of minerals he can find on it. He could literally turn this planet inside out what also makes him a threat is he's also a brilliant mind. And I like the twist they put on him. He's actually a Holocaust survivor. That was another thing, and they put that right in there. He's a Holocaust survivor, and I'm like, ooh, Stan and Jack is doing it to us, man. So he was telling stories within the story, man, and he really made you think: is Magneto really the villain? Is he really the villain, or does he want what's best for his people? It went from him trying to conquer the earth to saying, "Yo, F it, we're gonna live away from y'all. We're gonna live away from y'all." And no matter what he did, what the story always ended up saying was, no matter whether he tried to take over the world or get away from them, even when he was away from Earth, they came messing with him. Now, what does that sound like? You get away from somebody and they keep messing with you. It's like, you don't want me around. I go away. You're still effing with me. What does that sound like? You know what I mean?
It's a part of the DNA. Didn't I just say that?
Yeah. Yes,
people born into this and not even knowing. It's just that it's all that they know.
It's all that they know.
They haven't been versed with the information of what's outside of that, so they're living in a cocoon.
That's right.
And that cocoon is shallow-minded, low-browed, as I like to call it.
Right.
And you can't function to your full capacity being under those circumstances.
Correct.
It's often pointed out in the X-Men stories. They have stories that they have told, and people have struggled. Characters within the stories being told have struggled with their positions because they feel conflicted. And one of the things that people hold fast to is what they know, what they've learned. They don't want to be wrong, because imagine, from birth, you were told you're number one, you're the best. Everyone else came after you. Your history is first. You planted the first flag. Your family, this, that, and the third. And then you become 38 years old, 39, and some kind of information gets brought your way, and you realize, oh, there's a possibility that everything I know is not true.
Yeah, man.
It's not real. I've been lied to.
Yeah.
I've been lied to. Well, I gotta defend this truth from getting out. You see?
Uh-oh. You see? And that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah. Richard Pryor had a TV show, and it lasted only a few episodes because they pulled him off the air. They say they pulled him off the air because one of the episodes that aired, he came out in a bodysuit that made him look like he was nude. And they was like, that's it, they pulled him off. But I'm gonna tell you what I think they pulled him off the air for. He had a skit that he did where they were archaeologists in Egypt, and they went down into this pyramid in this tunnel. No one had ever ventured in there before. And he and two Caucasian men were in this cavern, and they found this vault, and it was like, it was all dusty and everything. They blew the dust off, and it was a book. And they looked at the book, and they were like, what is this? And they were looking, and the Caucasian guys was looking at it, and they couldn't understand the writing and stuff. But Richard looked at it, his character looked at the book, and he was like, oh man, this says this is the history of the original man. And it says, oh, it said the world began in such and such time, and the black man was present, and he wrote this down because he was told to take down the word and this and that. And the white guys was looking at each other like, what? And he was like, oh man, this is the truth right here. He said, he's like, this is all the history and everything. I'm a lineal of the original man and everything. Those two Caucasian archaeologists stepped backwards, and they closed them up in the vault. And they filled them.
I remember that. I remember that. I was like, oh wow. They sealed his ass right up in there.
That's why that show went off there.
That's why I went on. Man.
And that show, that was like back in 1977 or something, bro. So I'm telling you, it's like what I just said, and I just shared that with you all to have a nice laugh and everything. But listen, Stan Lee was blessed, and so was Mr. Kirby. And they formed a united front that brought us something of enlightenment. And I remember him saying, Stan Lee, in an interview, he said that they used great grammar in their books, in their text, because if a child reading their comics didn't know what a word meant, they can sometimes figure it out by how the word is being used.
Yeah.
Or they can do the difficult thing and go to a dictionary.
Right.
And look it up and find out what it means. Either way, there was an edification there in that process. Growth of the mind. So, in doing that, do you know how many of us were furthered in our intelligence by picking up these Marvel magazines and reading them, especially characters like the X-Men? You see? And so Stan Lee being here, and you saw he got to live to be a nice old age.
Yeah.
Because he was still bringing something of positivity to this world until he left. You have to understand that there's plenty of information out here for you. There's plenty, but you got to know what you're doing. I want to say salute to the brother Platboy Plays out there in that super chat. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
But this is what it's about. That's why we're coming with a show like this evening. You know, there's multiple layers to it. Like I like to use the analogy of an onion. You start to peel it back and you find that there's layers, but as you get deeper to the core of that onion, the stench and the aroma of this, the smell of it is so strong, it can bring tears to your eyes. That's real life too. Because sometimes when you unearth truth, it can be painful. It can bring tears to your eyes. That's why some people only want to live on the surface. Huh?
True story.
But if you saw the film The Matrix, like I was watching this afternoon, they live deep in the core of the earth. Zion, they called it. That was symbolic, but we'll talk about that at another time. But yeah, man, the X-Men. This is, you know, there's so much to gain out of this. You know, there's so much to gain out of it. Um, Early X-Men issues introduced the original team composed of Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Angel, and Iceman, along with their archenemy Magneto and his brotherhood of evil mutants featuring Mastermind, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Toad. The comic focused on a common human theme of good versus evil, and later included storylines and themes about prejudice and racism, all of which have persisted throughout the series in one form or another. The evil side in the fight was shown in human form and under some sympathetic beginnings via Magneto, a character who was later revealed to have survived Nazi concentration camps only to pursue a hatred for normal humanity. His key followers, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, were Romani. Only one new member of the X-Men was added, Mimic / Calvin Rankin, but soon left due to his temporary loss of power. See, that was early in 1963. This is how they kicked it off. And some of those characters we've seen in the films and in certain animated adaptations of these characters. Drew, what is it about the X-Men that if and when you pick up a particular story, what is it that drives it for you, the interest?
Like I said, the origin stories, the fact that these were characters not engineered, they were born that way and they had no choice. Now, some of them have, I mean, look, when you're a kid and you discover superheroes, you want to fly, you want to have X-ray vision or heat vision, or you want to do something that's super duper. But the spinoff with that story was they had powers and a lot of them hated it, no matter how great they were. It's like, yo, I just want to be normal. Because why? The world hates me. The world hates me because I'm born with wings and I can fly. The world hates me because I can phase through objects. The world hates me because I can read minds. Anybody would hate that. The world hates me because I don't know why my hands and feet are big, other than I'm a monkey. And then, you know, when you hit through puberty, you turn blue, like Hank Beast. You know, it's like, oh my God. And the original Iceman, the way Jack drew him, he looked like a snowman. You know, they didn't crystallize him until like the 70s at some point. But these are things that it drew me to him because there was a bit of their story. Mutant stories are a little tragic because of how they're treated. It's like you want powers, but it's like, okay, the government could make Steve Rogers into Captain America, so he's running and jumping at top speed, but they feel safe with that. But the guy that's born in America that can do everything that Steve Rogers does, but he's just born that way, all of a sudden he's a threat. So again, what does that sound like? You understand? So it's what drew me to the X-Men once I started to understand the in-depth story. It's like they're the good guys, but they're hated. And again, you got Professor X saying we can coexist, and Magneto saying I choose not to coexist. They're gonna hate us regardless. I want to be away from these guys. I would rather be away. So that's what attracts me to every X-Men story. They have stories within itself, but while they're fussing with other mutants, sometimes the big picture is the world hates them anyway. Even when the X-Men are trying to help, the world will always hate them. There'll be some people are okay with it, but most of them, the stories are about how society hates them. And there was several different mutant teams. There's the X-Men Blue team, the X-Men Gold team, X-Factor, New Mutants, Excalibur, the guys from the UK, Excalibur, X-Force. But there's a whole array of these characters. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the Mutant Liberation Front. I know all of this stuff. I should have broke out I have all the X-Men cards that came out in the 90s. I have all of them. And I should have broke that out, man. I have it in storage. But yeah, what attracted me to the story is how tragic it really is. It no matter how powerful of a mutant you are, you're like, man, it sucks. I would give this up in a heartbeat if my neighbor wouldn't quit. You know, this nigga's looking at me all day, like I'm gonna blow his house up, and I can, but he don't trust me not to do that. Now, what does that sound like? I get on the elevator with an old white woman, and she's clutching a purse and screaming on the inside. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm actually the guy you want to ride the elevator with at 3 a.m, because if something does happen to you, I'm here to protect you. You understand? So I mean, the story of mutants in comic books is actually tragic. But yeah, it's. I also read a story. Might be jumping ahead, when they incorporated Apocalypse into the X-Men story. Very creative character. I'll say that. Because he's supposed to be the first mutant. And I remember reading, I don't recall where, I read this book like in maybe 1990. But let me tell you how controversial it was, because I wish I could find this. But I was reading it, and some guy at a church got into a war of words with him. And Apocalypse looks at the guy. I think he was probably like a priest or something. He says, "What do you think this is?" He says, I am the end all," or something. You know how he talks. Mm-hmm. And he says to the guy, "We've been around before your religion. In fact, your religion," he said, "Moses parted the Red Sea. Jesus walked on water. Is that the mark of a real man?" He said, "There was no shield. There was no Hydra. What do you think those men were really made of?" And I said, "Oh shit." He was trying to say Moses was a mutant and Jesus was a mutant, and they were hated. They were being hunted down. And when he parted the Red Sea, he was saving his people, mutants and humans alike. And Jesus trying to save people, they killed him not because of his relationship with God, because Apocalypse was pretty much saying he was God. They killed him because of his abilities. That's what he was trying to say. And I said, ooh, and I cannot find that book, Stormy. I can't find it. And I know I read that. I read that like in 89 or 90. I said, yo, this book right here is going to be a problem. I don't even remember what it was. It had to have been an X Factor book. But it was crazy. It was crazy, man. It is deep, man. It is deep. That's right. And Apocalypse is a brother, by the way. He's a brother, by the way. Yep.
So is Thanos.
So is Thanos. Yep.
No, because Thanos was the only one that came out mutated, right? His brother didn't look like him and everything. He had that mutant gene. Thanos came out purplish blue, you know. Hey.
Thanos is an old school daddy joke. Your mama, your daddy's so black, he purple.
Yeah, and if they had put him in, if they had made him a black guy in the comics, it would have shut down the comic industry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It was a fine line. I wish I could find that.
Served.
I wish I could find that book, man, because I said this right here is going to be a problem, because the world wasn't ready for that, and I never found that damn book again. I don't even remember, but I remember reading it, and I said, "Oh shoot, he really went there." He said Jesus and Moses was mutants, and they prayed to me. I was like, "Oh no!"
Hey, he says, "Isn't Galactus a brother too?" Yeah, he a brother. He's long and he's strong. You understand? And they call him Galactus. Today he's known as Mandingo. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, Galactus is a light-skinned Negro. He creates shit, man. But yeah, man, that the X-Men story has gotten deep. They even watch this, Stormy. Later on, they had something called the Legacy virus, I think it was called. And that thing was killing off mutants all over the place. I didn't read the whole story. Maybe y'all in the chat heard of that, but it was like a violent virus that was only killing mutants.
Right.
Now, what does this sound like?
The Tuskegee experiment.
Tuskegee experiment.
That's what it's like. Look, hey, it didn't take me 2 seconds for it to roll off my tongue, did it? It's
Bro.
like, hey, there you go, huh? Diabetes, huh?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup. There's a character called Multiple Man, and they said he caught the worst death when he caught that virus because he does something like this and he could duplicate himself. He caught the virus and he kept trying to survive, so he kept duplicating himself, and the virus was just killing him. So he died like 2,000 times. It was crazy. I said, oh my God. Crazy stuff, man. Then the mutants they're exiled to Genosha. They can't leave that island. Why? They're patrolled by those fucking sentinels. Weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. Man, woof. They're dropping so many relatable things with these X-Men stories. I'm like, ugh.
But see, it take us to come on here and kind of lay out the carpet and the landscape to let people know what's really up. Because I'm gonna tell you, some of us, you could read this stuff and you be like, that's kind of, but you keep on reading and you enjoy your comic and everything, your graphic. But when you allow yourself to have that third eye open up, you can't get away from it, man. Then you begin to look deeper and deeper. Remember that onion I was talking about a moment ago? And it's like the more you come to realization of things, the more you're like, holy smoke. Then you start to get angry.
Yeah.
Man, I see what they're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Salute to the brother Champion Heart out there in the super chat. He says, salute to Sensei Stormybman and Drew Titan. He says, the Uncanny X-Men is probably the best X-Men stories. Listen, man, you have to go all the way back until the beginning, where the original stories with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were written, because that was born out of the civil rights movement and everything. The stories can't be, I mean, yeah, you got modern stories that can become favorites. Mm-hmm. But when you think back and look on how this series of stories, the inception and what it was born of, that's a one-time thing in life. And nothing is greater than when it's created, you know?
It got big. It got so big that they had to, like I said, they had to, there was so much going on. You couldn't limit it to one set of, one group. And I think the next wave of mutants that came out, I think they came out in the 70s, like when they introduced Colossus and Storm, Nightcrawler, and maybe a couple of guys. It escapes me. Right, Wolverine came later, who actually appeared. Wolverine's first appearance was in a Hulk comic book, and then they say, "Oh shit, he's a mutant." So there was so much going on. They had to separate them. Like they did the same thing with Avengers, East Coast and West Coast Avengers. With this, they had X-Men and the Uncanny X-Men. It was 2 different books, but it was like in the same universe, same timeline. It's just that one group was over here, the other group was over there, like the blue team and the gold team. And like I said, another way that I remember it was by artists. Jim Lee really revamped the X-Men when he did X-Men 1. I have it. I have all the magazines where you used to all the comics where you can make the one big comic, and then he had the book where all of it fold out. I have it. I have all of it. Then it was X-Men. Then it was Uncanny X-Men that was drawn by Wills Portacio. He's a Filipino fella. He's nice with it. And I think Excalibur 1, I Forgot who drew that. But X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. Yeah, those were the books right there. Those are the books. I have them. I think Uncanny X-Men, when Will Portacio took it over, I want to say that was 281. Yeah, that's all of them right there. Let me see if I can name all of them. Okay, that's Nightcrawler. I'm going from right to left, y'all. Nightcrawler, Beast, Wolverine, that look like Kitty Pryde, Rogue, Cyclops, Colossus, Jean Grey, Archangel, who's really Angel, but Powers got a hold of him and fixed him up. Iceman, Frost in the front right there, Colossus, Gambit, and Storm. Yeah, that was easy work. Yeah, all of these guys. It's easy work right there. All right, let's do this. Wow, that's Mr. Sinister. Forget this chick's name with the blindfold on there, but that's Sunspot. That's X23 right there. This is holy crap. It just dawned on me. The dude in the middle, Stormy, you know about him?
At the bottom?
Yeah.
No.
Oh boy. Again, that's a show in itself. And I see Deadpool. That is hilarious right there. Oh, man. That is hilarious, man. That's hilarious. Oh, man, that's funny. That is funny. They did a lot of revamping of the story. One of the things out there, did y'all know they made Colossus gay? Did you know that?
Did they? I didn't know that.
Oh God, with the bullshit, it's bad, and that's all I'm gonna mention right there. But this was the revamped stories. By the time they started doing this, I kind of fell off with the books, but their stories got more and more and more in depth, and people that were enemies are now they found the common ground. Like you see, Magneto's not a labeled villain anymore. He's sort of like the in between. They understand him, and actually, a lot of mutants agree with him. You know what I mean? It's weird, man. So a lot of the cat. There's about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I can't see who's behind Colossus. I don't want to talk about anyone being behind his metal ass since they made him that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get the gist of the story. Yeah, John Pounds, they made Colossus gay, bro. They made him gay, man. Nah, King Corleone, I don't consider anything bi. Bi is just greedy. They made the guy gay, man. I was like, why would they do that? It's ridiculous, man. They need to do that. This is the original X-Men right here. The original, that's Beast before he extra mutated. Jean Grey. Cyclops in the middle, Angel, and Iceman. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the X-Men films didn't do Cyclops justice at all.
Not at all.
Cyclops is kind of like more like Captain America, but with the powers that he's got and everything, and a real calculating leader and stuff like that. And they kind of like really made him take a back seat to everybody else and of course Wolverine. But yeah, he was definitely in the comics. He's definitely different.
I'm gonna tell you something else. When the video game came out, X-Men: Children of the Atom, a lot of people didn't pick him. Everyone went straight to Wolverine. Matter of fact, where's my soundbite?
Berserker Barrage.
They took the voices from the cartoon, the voice actors from the cartoon, and put them on the video game, and everyone went straight to Wolverine because he was such a cool character. He's the coolest X-Men. Well, Cyclops is actually the baddest ass in the game. He's a badass in the game, and when people picked him, we was like, wait a minute, he'll kick your ass, man. And I have a couple of games pulled up. Well, we'll do that in a minute. But my God, man. My God, they really didn't do Cyclops justice in the movies. They really didn't, because he is like the Captain America of the X-Men universe.
Mhm.
They didn't do him justice, man. They ain't do him justice. And this was the movie this is part 2, actually.
Yeah, this was from the second film. This picture here. You know, there's a lot of talk that fan casting for roles for the MCU X-Men, people wanting to see Daniel Radcliffe be the new Wolverine because he has the height and everything, and he actually looks the part. He just would have to get a little bit more physical shape, but he definitely carries certain dimensions that are familiar to the Wolverine in the comics, you know. Because if we go back to that original X-Men image that I had up here, you see Wolverine down there. That's his actual height and everything when they show him.
Yeah, he's actually in the comic book
like 5'5", right?
Yeah, he's
Something
short.
Like
he's short. He's like 5. If I remember Marvel, remember when they started coming out with what was it called? Where it gave you the heights and measurements and first appearance of Marvel Universe or something.
Yeah.
And my brother has all of them from A to Z. And I remember he I said, sheesh, I didn't know Wolverine was that short, but the actual animal, the Wolverine animal, is a small animal, but it's feared. It's feared.
Wolverine will mess up anything that he get into a battle with.
Yep. Wolverine and the honey badger.
Yep.
You know, those things are just ferocious. And I think honey badgers are immune to poison.
Yeah, I saw a honey badger trying to fight a lion, man. I was like,
what are you doing?
Like, he wouldn't even back down. The lion had ended up leaving him alone because it was like, and then he had the nerve to stand up on his hind legs like this, like,
yeah, he wanted all the smoke. Wanted all the smoke. I mean, I saw the honey badger go off with a cobra, and the cobra kept biting him. I'm like, that ain't gonna end well. Then I'm listening to the thing narrated. It says, it's immune to poison. All he's gonna do is take a nap because the cobra bit him, and he ended up eating the cobra, and then rolled over, took a nap, and woke up an hour later and just went about his business. It's like, damn.
That's that Wolverine healing power.
So it's like, we got to make a character. Do we do the ferocious honey badger or Wolverine? What sounds more cool? Wolverine could have been the honey badger. That'd be funny as hell. The ferocious honey badger. Oh,
crazy,
man, that's
man.
funny.
Salute to Shamar Rashawn Shalom out there, channel member for 7 months. He says, you guys remember what team Logan was a part of first?
Oh, Alpha Flight. Alpha Flight. He's Canadian. He's part of Alpha Flight.
And we joked about when Wolverine fought the Hulk, and when the Hulk ripped him in half and threw half of his body across
miles
away, and Logan had to go and catch up with his other half of his body.
Was funny. That was funny. Man, listen. My God, that was violent too.
I have that on animation. I got the X-Men, the Wolverine box set of his movies. Man, Logan is something else.
Man, listen. You because Deadpool's part of the same program, but he's like the next level up. Like, you can cut a limb off, and eventually his limb will grow back.
You remember when they showed that in his movie, the first movie, when his hand was? Dude, that was hilarious.
Man, that's funny, man.
And what's her name? Playing the blind lady. I forget her name.
I know you're talking about the black lady.
Yeah, when they were sitting on the couch and he was like reaching for her face with that little hand.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what I liked in the Deadpool sequel. They finally did the Juggernaut. They did the Juggernaut some justice, man.
Did you know that Excuse me. Did you know that was Ryan Reynolds also?
Yeah. They saved money on that.
Mm-hmm.
Kane Marco, man, who's not a mutant, by the way. Kane Marco, but the song that they played, I was in the theater listening to it. I said, "Wait a minute, man, that is funny." If y'all didn't pay attention to the song, it's on YouTube. Put in Juggernaut theme, Deadpool 2, and just listen to it. It was fun. I was in the theater like, "Oh my God, this movie is everything right now." It sounds like an opera song.
You know what? I have to give it to Ryan Reynolds, though. He went all in on that character. You know, it's like he knew what that character was about.
He understood the assignment
and what it embodied. And all he needed was for them to say, well, what does Deadpool look like under that mask? And it was like a burned Ryan Reynolds. Remember? They were saying that. And when he had heard that, he was like, shit, I can play with and dude. Man, in the first film, when they had that board up there and they was talking about, you know, the guys, the jobs they was taking and stuff.
Yeah.
And when he had came back and his boy at the bartender, he was saying that he was like, what kind of name should I have? And they were sitting up there coming up with all those stupid names. What did he call him? He called him the crispy something, the burnt crispy something. Listen, man, it's stuff like that that makes it worth the while if you're gonna do the live action, because that's a character, like you say, he breaks the fourth wall, but you gotta have good people that
you
do that stuff, you know. But a lot of people don't know this, Drew, and I'm not trying to take the show off track. But when the third Blade film was made, that guy, that writer, Stephen Goyer or whatever his name is, because he wrote the first couple films, but they let him direct the third film.
Yeah.
And when he brought in that girl, Justin Timberlake's girlfriend, that girl, I forget her name. And then he brought in Ryan Reynolds. Did you know that they were supposed to be Wade Wilson and I forget her name, David Gore. Yeah, thanks, Champion Heart. They were supposed to be the real characters from Marvel.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Jessica Biel. Yeah. But they couldn't get they couldn't get the approval because Blade was being made by New Line Cinema.
Yeah, man.
And they couldn't get it because the characters were with Fox or someone else, you know, because Marvel Studios wasn't around then at that time making films. So they changed the name of the characters, but that's why Ryan Reynolds' character in there was always joking and talking trash, because he was really playing Wade Wilson.
Oh, shoot.
A lot of people didn't know that. But if you go back and watch the movie, you can see that that's Deadpool without his costume.
Yup.
But you know, but he been playing him for a long time.
Yo, we need to do a focus on Blade. Because
Absolutely.
Blade saved the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Blade set it off, man.
Yeah.
And no uncertain terms. He set it off.
He sure
Big
did.
time.
He sure did. And people don't. It's in the same timeline. It's in the same universe. If you look at the post credits at the end of Blade that was not released in the theater, Morbius is at the end of that film. Blade
Right.
1.
On
Morbius
the roof.
is at the end. He's on the roof. Yep.
He's on the roof, and Blade is looking at him, and he's knowing that he's gonna have to go after him.
Man, yeah, we got to give Blade some props.
And I have to tell you, man, anytime, and I haven't watched Blade in a while. I got the 4K version of Blade, which is pretty damn cool in 4K, you know?
Yeah.
But every time I watch that film, I get pumped up because it's like Blade just exudes that machismo. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Man,
like,
that first scene,
oh man,
it's like when you saw it in the movies, they didn't waste no time.
they just kicked it off.
You were like, oh shoot, man. And the way he came in there and regulated, I said, yo, man, bro. Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna watch some of it before I go to bed tonight.
Then the last scene when he had to get his powers back, you know, and he took old girl, let him take some of her blood.
Yeah.
And he got his strength back. And then he went down there, he flipped off the top of that thing and came down, and Frost's right hand man tried to come at him, and he took old boy's head off, and then he reached up and snatched his glasses out the air and put them
like,
on.
And the music came on.
And the music came on,
Right,
yo.
man.
That was so badass.
Yo, the theater erupted.
That was so badass. Listen, me and a partner of mine, we had went to see that. People were standing ovation, bro. Standing ovation for Blade when we saw that in the theater. People was jumping up out of their chairs just cheering at him. And the last time I could remember seeing that was like at a Bruce Lee movie or something. Seriously.
Right.
But Wesley Snipes could do no wrong after that film premiered, man.
And
that film, Blade, was awesome.
And let me tell you, Blade 2 was a really good follow-up.
Oh, yes, it was. I love how they made the inside of his leather coat red to make it look like it was a cape. Yeah.
Oh, man. My only not regret, like I did something, but the only thing that I would have liked to have seen, Donnie Yen didn't get busy in that film.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. And I saw him. I said, yo, that's Donnie Yen. And he gets bit. And I'm like, man, he ain't going to do nothing. Sheesh. But, man. But Blade
remember the scene when he jumped off the balcony and came down in that alley where they was on the motorcycles and stuff? That was so cool how they filmed that, because remember, we didn't have as good a CGI back then as we have now and everything. But the way it was shot, it was so cool how they did that, man.
Yeah, Blade 3, Wesley didn't even promote that. He had no creative control in that. He really didn't like it.
Because he was into it with that dude Goya, man. They literally were like at odds on the set. I mean, he wouldn't come out of his trailer a lot of the times. That's why they used the double a lot.
Damn.
It wasn't even Wesley in a lot of those scenes in the third film.
It sucked. It sucked in comparison to what we was used to seeing. But they could bring the Midnight Suns that should be in the works somewhere. Blade, Morbius, Ghost Rider, and forgetting somebody. Did you know that there's a character that came out in the 70s in Marvel called Zombie? And he they gotta work him in there somewhere. The reason why I remember him is because he looks like a 80s rock and roll artist, and I'm really not clear on his origin story, but I know when the hunger virus came through the Marvel universe and created Marvel Zombies, he was the only person not affected, and something happened with Deadpool, and he was walking around with Deadpool's head, and Deadpool is infected, but he's still talking. And he's talking to Zombie, and Zombie doesn't respond. But that's how their story ends. He walks off while holding Deadpool's head. He says, yeah, you know what? I think this is going to be a start of a beautiful friendship. And he's just walking off holding Deadpool's head. It was hilarious, man. It was hilarious. But just a little sidebar. But we need to do
we'll do a show on Blade because he's deserving of it, Yeah, we can do that, definitely.
But back to X-Men, man. Very pivotal characters, and they deserve their own. I can't wait to see what the MCU does with them, because I can't help but to think they're going to do them justice, man. I mean, I appreciated this for what it's for. Let me tell you a little something about this right here. long before this movie was even thought of, I used to buy a magazine called Wizard, and they used to have a fun thing every month where they used to, yeah, you're right, Shamar. That's exactly what happened. His body, Deadpool's body got hit. It got chewed up by a propeller from a boat. And it was just his head left. So he was walking around with Zombie. But in Wizard, they would have these things every month. Talk about if you were to cast a live action film of such and such, whatever comic book, who would you cast? Like real actors. And I remember they did the Incredible Hulk movie, right? And this was before the CGI was good. And one of the things I remember in the Hulk movie was that they wanted to cast Kevin Sorbo. Remember Kevin Sorbo from the Hercules series on TV?
Yeah.
They wanted to cast him as Doc Samson, and I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great casting there. All he needed is to have his hair dyed green. That's he could be Doc Samson right out of the comic books.
And I forgot everybody else on that one, but I do remember the X-Men. And one of the things that sticks out was I remember saying, I said, man, who's the dude that plays Picard on Star Trek? I said, that guy would be perfect for Professor X. And like a decade later, they did it. And I said, man, I'm sold. And I appreciate it.
I met him.
You did?
Yeah. Sir Patrick Stewart, I met him. He actually came into the building where I work. Mm-hmm. And he was looking for this restaurant that's right up the street. He was like, can you tell me how to find, and it's funny because he came in, there was a woman with him. She was kind of like, probably like someone that's kind of showing him around town or something. Cause you could, that's the kind of vibe I got. But he had a baseball hat on and he kind of had it pulled down over his brow, But I looked at him and face recognition for me is pretty spot on. And I knew who he was when I saw him, but it was his voice, because his voice is so prominent, He and he was asking for this specific restaurant, and I was like, yeah, but he was very nice. He didn't give off any negative vibes whatsoever. Very petite guy too. He was not big at all. I mean, like he came like down to here to me,
Uh-huh.
So,
how tall is he?
Like I said, he came out about right here to me. He was like, he wasn't as high as my nose. Short guy. Those actors and actresses, they be small people, and on screen you think of them as larger because they play with camera angles and stuff to make them appear to be taller and stuff. That's just like, I always laugh when I watch the first Iron Man movie when Robert Downey Jr. is standing in that airplane hangar talking to Terrence Howard. Mm-hmm. And they show a wide shot of them standing together and they look almost the same height, but the camera angle is kind of tilted up a little bit, but you see a full floor view of them from feet to top of their head. But if you look at Robert Downey Jr.'s, what he's wearing these boots. And of course, inside the boots, he's got lifts because he's nowhere near the height of Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard is about 6'1". Robert Downey Jr. is about 5'8" or 5'9". You know what I mean? So when he was standing in that scene with, they made it look like he was almost his height. That's just like when you watch Enter the Dragon, the scene where Bruce Lee is fighting Bob Wall, and they make it look like him and Bob Wall are almost the same. Then
Right.
Came up to Bob Wall's shoulder. He was short.
Right. Right.
But the way they shot it with camera angles, they made them look similar in height. It's like movie magic, man.
It's amazing. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I have faith that Kevin Feige, I can appreciate the fact that he's an actual fan like us. And I just don't think, I hope that he learned from that god-awful Marvel Phase 4, because I can tell that he left the creative control under the people that he hired to do the job. And that was the worst phase for him. So hopefully He has people that he trusts in it, and he's enough of a fan to overlook what they're doing, and he could resurrect the X-Men and the Fantastic Four saga.
Can I tell you what my thoughts are on that? And I
Go
hate
ahead.
to sound like a fatalist or whatever, but I think they're done, bro. I think the damage is too great, and I think that it's his, just like he had his biggest success with phases 1 through 3. I believe, like you said, he left creative control in the hands of the wrong people, and they've damaged it forever. I don't think there's any coming back from this. And one of the reasons that I say and state, he had a perfect casting in Mahershala Ali to be the new Blade, and it's been 5 freaking years, and they've done nothing.
You're right. You're right about that.
The movie is in creative hell right now, and with the actor strike, that ain't gonna help. I believe when the actor strike is over, we're gonna hear that the Blade film has been canceled. That's what
oh my gosh, man. That's my
yeah. But you know what? I'm gonna say this though. He deserves it, Kevin Feige, because when you got something like that, you have to take care of it. And isn't it quite coincidental that all of this happened just as Stan Lee had passed away? I don't like that. I don't like it, because you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
You can connect the dots. It was like people were waiting in the wings for Stan to drop on off, and then they went on in and did their thing.
I was about to say, it's like once he passed, these guys literally, once he passed, they start to show their ass in more ways than one. More ways than one, man. It's, you kind of like can connect that, make that connection. That's what I'm saying. I can only hope. And I can have, I'm having faith that he's a fan enough to say, you know what, nah, I got to watch what the hell I'm hiring these guys to do now. Because, man, and I hate going through this, but it always bears repeating. That Thor Love and Thunder pissed me off really bad.
Do you know Chris Hemsworth now got the gall to come out and talk about how he don't like the film, and how like he thinks like now it was really, you know, they made it was too silly and stuff like this. But remember, when the film was released, he was talking about, oh, I think it's the best Thor yet, and this and that. See, no, he heard the backlash. He probably watched our show. You understand?
Man.
That's what I'm saying. We let him have it, bro. We let him have it. But you know what? Him and Taika Waititi, they should never listen, man. Get Taika Waititi the hell out of here. Never make another comic book film with any other comic book characters that I love and support or anything, because he's poison. He's poison to it.
You know what it is? You know what it is too?
You got War the God Butcher, one of the deadliest characters in the Marvel universe, and you got a hell of an actor in Christian Bale to play the guy, and then you do nothing with the character, whatsoever.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I said, I wonder who did a worse job in a comic book to silver screen rendition. Worst job. I said, was it Waititi and Lee? I said, well, in his defense, they went to him. He didn't volunteer. That's number one. Number two, he openly admitted, he said, I'm not educated about the Hulk. It was just as ridiculous as, do y'all remember Monday Night Football, where they say, we now have Dennis Miller? And we was like, why? Dennis Miller to announce football? Even Dennis Miller got on Monday Night Football and said, I don't even know how the hell that happened. I don't know what I'm doing here.
You know what that's like? What's this dude name used to play in the NBA? Now they done brought him on the Zone and stuff to talk about boxing. What's his name? He got the show on YouTube.
Captain Jackson.
Steven Jackson. He don't keep that dude away from my boxing, man.
Bro, you know, I spoke to him.
He's talking about.
He was at the presser. You know what he said? You know, I might have it on video. You know what he said? He said, I don't know all about boxing, but I'm here because I'm willing to learn. And shout out to y'all. He said that. And I was like, I appreciate that, but wouldn't it make sense to get someone?
Go learn first. Learn first. Don't learn on the job because he's horrible. He's horrible. He could sit up and talk about weed all day because he know about that. And he can talk about the NBA because he played in it. But stay the hell away from my boxing, please.
Yeah.
And this ain't no boxing show, but I'm just saying, man.
Right.
I got to bring these people around who don't know about the fair. It's like, and to channel it back into what we were talking about, Marvel, Kevin Feige gave the keys to somebody who drove the Benz into a tree.
Drunk at that.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, Stormy. He drove the Benz into a tree to make a political statement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what he did.
Should share their wealth or some stupid.
Yeah, the rich should, this car's just as good as a dune buggy, and I'm gonna crash it into a fucking tree. That's just what you did. And we are telling Kevin, you should have never gave that motherfucker the keys, man. You should have never gave this guy. I went back and looked at it, and my father, he loves all the Marvel stuff because he goes back further than me.
Right.
But he asked me, he said, what about that new Thor movie? And I told him, I said, pass on that. You can skip it. I said, there's nothing there that links up to anything that's going on. Pass on it. Dude, why? He a fairy too? Ain't he a fairy? I mean, he waves that flag, don't he?
Probably, yeah.
I saw him, and I'm like, this guy's part of that broken wrist. Keep that, stop trying to make political statements. Leave my shit alone. And I'm equal, man. The last Fantastic Four film I saw, I was enraged. I said, why is Johnny Storm black?
Listen, I was just about to say, that director that made that film Chronicle, if he wanted to continue to make Chronicle Part 2, 3, 4, 5, that would have been fine. But don't come over and grab a Marvel property and try to turn it into Chronicle. Because that's basically what he did.
And Chronicle was a sleeper film. But here's the problem. Don't try and come over here and reinvent the goddamn wheel. We don't need that. Stop. Johnny Storm black. Cut it out, man. Salute, General.
Yeah, salute to the general out there in that super chat. He's saying salute, brothers, and chat. Colossus Peter was my favorite X-Men, and I wanted to smash Mystique as a youngin.
You know what's dope about Mystique? She could be any chick you want her to be. She's the best. And she was running around. She was running around. She was basically
naked. Bucket naked, as Bernie Mac used to say. Listen, man. Hey, remember when she climbed on top of Wolverine and told him in the movie, what, you don't like me like this? Or do you prefer this? And she turned into Halle Berry.
Oh, man. He's like, I knew it was you because she still had the scars. She still had the scars when he stabbed her ass.
Yeah, when he stabbed her, yeah.
Oh man, that was funny, man. That was. Oh man, that is hilarious, man. Yeah, she stayed in shape for those films, man. I'll give her that. She stayed in great shape. But I really they got to do right. They got to do right by the X-Men. I mean, this is the last. We're up to we're in phase 5. We're going on 6 now, right? It's phase 5.
No, we're still in phase 5, and that they haven't even got to the films in phase 5 yet because the strike and everything. Because this Marvel's film is supposed to be a phase 5 film. Then there was supposed to be Deadpool, and then there was supposed to be something else, one of the Avengers films. All of this stuff is being pushed back because of this strike. That's why, you know what? It's collapsing, bro. And it deserves to collapse. They had their run. They couldn't maintain the integrity. And this is what happens. When you get a little full of yourself, what happened with that famous beer company when they changed over and got the trans people that was advertising their beverages and stuff, and it's like, what happened? There's no coming back from that. No coming back.
True story. They did it to themselves.
And them damn commercials existed since before I was born. Mm-hmm. You know, Budweiser with the stallions, the horses.
Remember that?
Dude.
And then remember they had the frog run? They had a great run, man.
Yep.
What about the other dude? Yes, I Am. Remember that white guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a great run. And just like that, they Thanos snapped themselves.
Yep.
By trying to be woke.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. They woke and everybody went to sleep on their what do you call it? On their product.
Man, listen.
And you can't wake us up from that.
You cannot. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. But
you don't even see the commercials now. Like, you know, you see a game or something on, it's like,
nope.
They used to have a logo in the ring for the boxing matches and all of that.
No
more.
The Gate is like, yup, rebound. I want you to before we get out of here, I want you to pull up the screen that I have here.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Okay, I'll pull it up.
This right here, I don't know if we need to call fair use. It's a video game. This is the X-Men video game. Yeah. This was in the arcade. I must have spent like $20 playing it. I actually have this on my PS4. This game was fun. It's called a beat 'em up.
Look at that hair on Wolverine.
Look at that. Hair on his forearm, biceps, triceps. Dazzler was in this game. This game is badass and it's fun, man. 1992.
Dude, this is when games were at their best, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I love
Listen to those sound effects.
Oh, man, look at that. I have this. This game is so fun. This game is fun, man. Oh, it don't get no better. Come on, bro. You had to play this. Had to play this. But the real, let me pull this up. The real game was this right here. Where is that? Here we go. X-Men Children of the Atom. This right here. This came out. Yo. Iceman was a key. Oh, Spyro versus Storm. I have this too.
Round one. Fight!
Kicking his ass. But trust me, Iceman is a key on this game. Fucking him up though.
You win.
Get up to the end. Juggernaut.
Round one.
That's how I walk into work, by the way. Man, this game is so fun. Man, look, all right.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Halle Berry ain't built like that.
Hell no.
They cheated us.
Oh, man. She ain't built like that, man. Let me tell you something. This game right here, the hardest character to beat was Magneto. In every magazine, they said he was the hardest guy to fight. Look at this. That's from Jim Lee right there. They made him like the Jim Lee comic.
Mutant era has come.
Puts on the helmet.
Round one. Fight!
Now this shit must be on easy because he be fucking you up. Look at that. How do you beat that? How the fuck? Nah, the game's on easy, Stormy.
You win.
The game's on easy. The game's on easy. I'm not hearing that, man. Nah. When I play this game, Stormy, nah. You can't. No. Not at all. You can't beat him like that. No. The game's on easy, man. I've seen cats play this dude in the arcade. They done blew $30 trying to beat this guy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, buddy, man.
But yeah, man, brilliant show. Salute to the X-Men. I hope we gave y'all a deeper insight on the true origins of the actual characters. It's deeper than you think. And I hope that Marvel gets it the hell together because, bro, you already know. They on shaky legs. It's round 12 on shaky legs. Know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. But hey, man, yeah, like you said, great show. I want to thank everybody that came out. We had the General in the building this evening. Appreciate the General stopping by, showing some love and support, man. And everybody else that the super chats. Some of the comments we were able to get to, some of them we didn't ignore. We were just cooking. So thank you guys. We had a nice turnout too this evening for the show.
Sure did.
Appreciate everybody. We'll be back next week for another Nerds on Culture. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Take you guys' energy on over to the Painful Excellence podcast. Drew's got that coming up in just a couple minutes.
We live right now.
You guys, peace to everybody. Have a great week.